come again, maybe reviewing how that in-house procedure rules are determined might be a wise thing to do.
Rahul, we all talk about independence of the judiciary. And you believe in it. For the judiciary to be independent, the judges must be independent. Correct? The in-house procedure has been in vogue since 1999. It is a facet of the protection that is being given to the judges to maintain their independence. Any Tom, Dick and Harry raising a complaint does not get investigated, not by outsiders. The judges themselves will do it. That is the wisdom of the full court of the Supreme Court taken in 1999. Right. Now, the in-house inquiry is not toothless. A prima facie finding we would require the judge to resign, and if he doesn't resign, the matter goes to the President and the Prime Minister for taking the impeachment route. So it's not a toothless proceeding. Now, you raised a very pertinent point that brother judges are deciding the conduct of brother judges. Okay, fine. The alternative is the Internal Complaints Committee. You know who heads the Internal Complaints Committee in the Supreme Court? An additional registrar. An additional registrar will determine the fate of the Chief Justice of India. Right? And the outsider will determine. I would have been very happy to have the additional registrar determine my fate, because he or she would have listened to what I wanted. Right? But I put my neck, and then gave Justice Bobde the news, hang me. And who is Justice Bobde? He is the man who would have benefited the most by holding me guilty. He would have got an extra 7 months of tenure. What are you talking about, Rahul? What is the media talking about? What are people talking about? He could have hanged me. Right? That is why I say fairness in judges. He would have got 7 months of extra tenure. He would have had a 2-year tenure. Right? And the alternate, what? Additional registrar of the Supreme Court. I would have called the additional registrar, hey, decide karo mere favor mein. And he or she would have been too happy to do it in 24 hours. You want that? The in-house inquiry is in place for the last 20 years. It is an internal inquiry. People have been found guilty. If there are prima facie guilt, matter goes, the judge resigns. If he doesn't resign, impeachment, etc., etc.
The lady who levels the charges of sexual harassment, which are found to be untrue in the committee report, is later reinstated after you demit office. If
will you kindly repeat that question in the same words that you have put?
After your tenure gets over, the lady who leveled these charges against you, Justice Gogoi, is reinstated. My question is this: if someone has the audacity of leveling what turn out to be unfair, unfounded charges against the then Chief Justice of India, why should penal action not be taken against that person? Why should that person be reinstated?
Very good. Excellent question. The lady didn't get reinstated. After my tenure. The lady got reinstated during my tenure. The lady addressed a letter to Justice Bobde. That's in the book, that letter. On humanitarian grounds, she wanted the job back. Justice Bobde, a disciplined soldier, sent the letter to me. I wrote back, I can't deal with this matter. Please decide according to your discretion. Justice Bobde is a compassionate man, and rightly so. Compassion is always is an integral part of administration. You throw out compassion and sympathy, the administration becomes lifeless. Justice Bobde ordered reinstatement. Justice Bobde reinstated during my tenure. I could not have dealt with the matter this way. And for your information, I will tell you, Justice Bobde is a compassionate man. He reinstated 2 other employees whom I have dismissed summarily for committing forgery in a judicial order pertaining to Anil Ambani. There was a forgery. I invoked my special powers and dismissed them from service without an inquiry. Justice Bobde, you reinstated them. Did I mention it to you ever? No. That is his discretion. He will exercise it according to his wisdom, not me. But the reinstatement took place during my tenure, not during after my tenure.
You are convinced from what I can gather from the book that this seems to have been some kind of a conspiracy against you, possibly because some of the decisions that you took on the administrative side. Do you want to tell everyone who's sitting here, who do you think was trying to hang you, Justice?
Why are you putting words in my mouth? Where did I say in my biography?
You refer to conspiracies.
I did not refer to conspiracy, the bench did. I did not refer.
Who do you think conspired against you, Justice?
I wouldn't say nothing about conspiracy because that is speculative. I don't speculate. I go by proof. I don't guess. I don't guess. You're putting words into my mouth. But that's your job.
I also feel what lawyers must have felt like when they're in Justice Gogoi's court, because he's questioning you or commenting on every comma and full stop. So the shaping of the question needs to be like a legal argument. You can't be amiss even by half an inch. I come now, sir, to that dramatic press conference.
Press conference, okay.
Right ahead of the time when you took over as
Would you like some water?
Would you like some water, sir?
If both of us have it, we have it.
Okay, let's have some water. This is like a tea break in the middle of a heated encounter. Let's get some tea.
I'm sure both of us will have it. Yes.
So in this big and dramatic press conference on the 12th of January, you seem to suggest in the book that you didn't fully know what you were walking into. That this was Justice Shalameshwar's idea. You said there was a discussion when you tried to argue before the Chief Justice about how the bench should be constituted, who should get the case, and you didn't like the way the Chief Justice at that time decided. You tried to argue, it didn't work out, and therefore a press conference was agreed upon. Why did you agree to be part of that press conference? What was going through your mind at that time, Justice Gogoi?
It's very easy to say that I didn't know what I walked into. It's very easy. Anybody can say it, but that's not enough. We addressed the press, and that was my idea, or at least what I understood. Maybe I understood it wrongly. I thought perhaps we are going to meet Mr. Mahapatra, Mr. X, Mr. Y, whom we see every day in court. Some judges, some media persons from the press lounge of the Supreme Court will come. But when I went to Justice Chalameshwar's house, I saw something different. This is what I've said. I didn't expect that. But that doesn't mean that I did not want to address the press. I wanted to, because I believed that that was the right thing to do at the time. The press conference was the outcome of an unsuccessful attempt to convince the then Chief Justice that he should act in a particular manner, and a manner which we four judges thought was reasonable. Namely, when you are allocating PILs, either the Chief Justice takes it, but if the Chief Justice cannot take it, it should go to bench number 2, 3, 4 in order of seniority. Chief Justice Mishra was not for good reasons, bad reasons. He was not willing to do that. And it was happening a little frequently. So we went and voiced our concerns publicly. I hope that was the first, undoubtedly the first, and I hope it will be the last occasion when judges would address the press.
The headline at that time was "Democracy is in danger." How convinced were you then, and looking back now, that democracy was truly imperiled, which is what led you to doing that big press conference?
I was as less convinced or least convinced that democracy was in danger as I am least convinced about my acceptance of the Rajya Sabha nomination being quid pro quo to the Ayodhya jail. I think this is nonsense, and democracy being in danger is nonsense. This is how the media builds up the stories. You have to sell your newspapers. Social media was not very active those days. Newspaper circulations had to be large, and you build up the news.
So the big question, the elephant in the room, is something that you mention a couple of times when you talk about interference from the executive. And you say that you can't say that there is no interference from the executive. You have to be able to deal with it, deal with the pressure. It's a tricky balance. Let me ask you a direct question, Justice Gogoi. How much interference is there?
All these questions that you are asking me indirect.
How much interference is there, Justice Gogoi, from the government of the day in the judicial functioning of our Supreme Court?
NIL, nil. I told you, who would dare and come tell Ranjan Gogoi, do this and do that? Tushar, would you? Who would come? Who would come? The first thing I will do is, I'll display my warrior skills. Number one. And number two, I will call All India Radio and tell them, here is a man, here this politician has come to me asking for this politician. Don't do it. There is no interference.
And your conscience is completely clear, because the perception in the world outside is that whether it's senior advocates will be appearing on behalf of the government, that they have a direct hotline to Supreme Court judges, and therefore at this time and this is a feeling not just voiced on the outside but by many members of the bar as well, that the judiciary is no longer, sir, as it used to be.
When you're talking of hotline, there was actually a hotline. When I became the Chief Justice, they put up something strange looking telephonic instrument right down. So I had not seen anywhere. So I asked him, what is this instrument? He said, sir, this is a hotline to the PM and the Home Minister and Home Minister. I threw away that hotline. I threw away that instrument. Justice Bobde may have also had it. He must have also thrown it. Right? There is no hotline. See, executive interference is capable of being made in 100 different ways. Right? It depends on the incumbent. I can only tell you my tenure. I did not meet the Prime Minister even once. I met him when he had come to the Supreme Court on 26th November, which also raised the hue and cry. Prime Minister is not entitled to come to the Supreme Court. I received one call in a voice that sounded like Mr. Modi's. I refused to talk. I asked the IB director, was that a call from Mr. Modi? He said, he verified and said, no, that was not a call, that was a fake call, somebody was impersonating. That's all.
You just said that somebody pretending to be the Prime Minister called you?
Somebody said, I am the Prime Minister. You can also call me up and say, you are the Prime Minister. No difficulty.
So outside of this hoax and fake call, You weren't frequently in conversation with, say, the law minister, the solicitor general.
Ravi Shankar Prasad is a good friend of mine. We had quite a few tea and samosas. Right? We met. Is it a sin? Is it a sacrilege to meet Ravi Shankar Prasad, the law minister? The ministers belong to a class that class apart. Right? The judges are the only persons that should mix with judges. I don't believe anything like that. But the fact is that I met not the law minister, I met my friend Ravi Shankar Prasad. I did not meet Modi, Saab, I did not meet any other minister. Yes, the president, prior to my retirement, called us, the whole family, and gave us a private tea. No quarrel with that? Yes.
You also talk about the controversy when the Prime Minister came to the Supreme Court. The timing was questioned because that was when the Rafale judgment was coming out, and there was an extended.
Come on, this is the first. You have given me ideas. Rafale judgment. You are right. First time it has struck my mind. Yes.
Therefore, questions were asked, and you've defended it, saying that Prime Minister has the right to come and see the premises of the Supreme Court, and that you see nothing amiss. But those on the outside said, "Dal mein kuch kala hai."
दाल में तो काला होता ही है ना दाल काला नहीं है तो क्या दाल है Prime Minister came on 26th November, that is the Constitution Day, the law day, a holy day. The Chief Justices of the BIMTEC countries were invited. There was a dinner, he came. He visited the Supreme Court, he visited the Chief Justice's chamber. I don't think anything wrong with it. The photographs of the judges who were with the Prime Minister in the Chief Justice's dinner is a part of the book. And some of the judges who were doing selfies with the Prime Minister are today activists, judges who condemn the Prime Minister. They were present at that function. They took photographs. Have you seen those photographs? Do you recognize the activist judges? Rahul doesn't say yes or no. Rahul nods. Yes.
So one act of yours,
Yes.
which raises many questions, is your decision to accept becoming a nominated member of the Rajya Sabha. For many on the outside, a lot of what you did in your tenure as Chief Justice came under cloud because of your decision to accept becoming a nominated member.
What
of the
would you
Rajya
have
Sabha.
liked me to accept?
Why did you accept?
No, what would you have liked me to accept? A governorship? Or the chairman of human rights? If I had become the chairman of human rights, what would you have said? Would you have said the same thing? I would have been better off if I had taken chairman of human rights or the chairman of the law commission, because these are bodies that can be only be manned by retired judges. And financially, I would have been better off. Right? Rahul, I'm sick and tired of repeating that on day one I wrote to the Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha and Secretary General of the Supreme Court that I won't take a penny from the Rajya Sabha. And 1.5 years I have not taken a penny. I have not even taken the amount that is due to me for engaging office help. I am paying the office help from my own pocket. What reaction? What do you expect me to say? This is a nomination made by the President under Article 80. Look at the Constituent Assembly debates on Article 80, what was expected. There are 12 nominated members in the Rajya Sabha. 9 of them have joined one political party or the other. There are 3 who have not. Mary Kom, the boxer. Narendra Yadav, I invited him, he promised he would come. I don't know whether he is come. I'm here. Yeah. He has not joined any political party, and myself. And for your information, the period of joining political party is over. 6 months from the date of appointment or date of nomination. If we are to join a political party now, we will stand disqualified. So I continue to maintain my independence and my right not to be governed by any whip and to speak in the House what I want. I am free to express my views for or against the government. I am not committed to any particular person.
When I asked you about the issue of the suggestion that you seem to be sitting in judgment on your own case, you said maybe in hindsight that was a mistake. If I were to ask you, Justice Gogoi, given the outcry that was generated by your decision to accept becoming a member of the Rajya Sabha, and given what's happening in the Rajya Sabha in terms of disruptions, do you look back and think of this maybe as being a mistake? You could have avoided it, been happier in Guwahati?
I anticipated this question. Even if I had second thoughts, the kind of noise that has been made has made me more determined. You can't cow me down with noises. You better involve some other strategy if you have that. Shouting at Ranjan Gogoi will not do. Even if I had second thoughts about continuing, today I am very strong in my views. I will not bow down to unconstitutional, if not extra-constitutional noises.
And you will take a second term if you got one.
If I get a second term, I will recommend Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Like someone.
Now
You will, as I have predicted in my book, that our Honorable Present Chief Minister, if he had chosen to continue in the legal profession, he would have been a great lawyer. I have written. The Chief Minister of the state of Assam had briefed me in very many lottery cases. And the subject he briefed me is income tax law. Can you beat it?
Man, many talents.
Of all yours, income tax law. The Chief Minister.
If he ever decides to give up politics, which he never will, Himanta Biswa Sarma has an alternate career to fall back on.
But I don't think that Himanta Biswa Sarma should give up politics. Politics perhaps needs people like him. Yes. So,
speaking of your home state, Assam, I want to draw you to the incident you refer in your book, where then Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi calls your mother to his residence in Guwahati. And your mom calls you to ask whether she should go or not, and you say the Chief Minister has called you, you should go, and then asks for a judicial favor.
Tarun Gogoi is no more. Why should we talk about it? I mentioned in the book, it was very unfortunate. I was doing a case where the government had high stakes. He requested my mother to come and meet him. The poor lady, she's no more. She came all the way from Dibrugarh, spending her pension, to taking a flight. And the Chief Minister asked her to speak to me that the judgment in that case should be government. She walked out. And she didn't even mention to me. She mentioned it to me after the judgment was given. These are things that happen. These are things that happen. But this happens once in a blue moon. Executive interference in judicial functioning is not an everyday matter as is projected. These are wrong perceptions That's why I said in my speech, when you're holding an office, only the holder of the office knows. Rahul, may I ask you a question? Do you think the executive is not interested in having an independent judiciary? An independent judiciary is a national asset. Right? A $5 trillion economy, would anyone not like India to have? If you have that, you must have an efficient, independent judiciary. So, is the executive not conscious of that fact? Why the executive would be after each and every case? Yes.
The other instance you cite is of the NRC, which is clearly very dear to your heart. You spend a lot of your time talking about the need for an NRC, the misconceptions around it, how it's been politicized. And then you say a senior official in the current government called you, asking you to go slow. Given the fact that the government wants to push the NRC, I wonder why would a senior official ask the judge to go slow?
Who told you that the government wants to go ahead?
In political rallies in Assam and Bengal, that's what they say. Once those rallies end, it changes. But during the political heat and dust in Bengal,
you have missed out the most cited line in my book. The cited line is, what was right was not said, and what was said was not right. What was correct was not said, and what was not correct was said, both by the central government and by the state government. This is my view expressed to the NRC, in the NRC cabinet. The incident in Nagaland, the very it was a mistake. It was an accident. But that accident was facilitated. Accidents are unfortunate. Stringent laws may also be required. The idea is not to take a hasty decision, but to try and strike out a balance. In what way the balance would be struck is really for the executive to work out. The Armed Forces Special Powers Act, at times you would feel the need requirement for it. At times, in cases of accidents and excesses, you would feel the need for repeal of it. The truth lies both ways.
As I come to the last part of this conversation, I want to spend the time that we have left talking about the functioning of the collegium, the appointment of Supreme Court judges, and as an outsider, I'd like to know from you, Justice Gogoi, how satisfied are you with the manner in which judges are appointed at this moment? Are you convinced that truly the best and the brightest who can do the greatest service to India's judiciary have an opportunity to sit in the highest court of the land? And if not, what would be your recommendation to try and fix it?
That's the last question, but the most difficult. Very difficult. I can tell you of my experience in the collegium as the Chief Justice of India. I had no difficulty. I have mentioned in my book, apart from 14 Supreme Court judges, my collegium appointed 28 Chief Justices, 127 High Court judges, and on the day I retired, 60 names of High Court judges were given. A consensus was built up over prolonged discussion. And as luck would have it, we did manage to have a consensus on every name. Any system is bound to have its plus points, minus points. The collegium system also has its plus points, minus points. Who knows the prospective judges better than the judges? But the dominance of the judges with little or no say of the executive. Everything has to be fine balanced. I remember the famous words of Justice Ambedkar. A good constitution in the hands of bad people becomes a bad constitution. A bad constitution in the hands of good people becomes a good constitution. This all depends on the people working under the constitution. But I will tell you one thing. When we are talking of the collegium system, I would like to mention my High Court, the Guwahati High Court. My High Court is the only High Court in the country which is functioning with full strength for the last 1.5 years. Why? The High Court is functioning with full strength. Why? Because as a Supreme Court judge, I made it clear to the Chief Justices of my parent High Court that they should not come to me to get prior approval of names. You do your duty, send your names, I will do my duty. And I believe Justice Rishikesh Roy, who now represents the Guwahati High Court and was present today, is doing the same thing. So the Guwahati High Court is a model High Court so far as the success of the collegium system is concerned.
What struck me as odd when I was reading about the multiple cases of transfers that you mentioned, I'm not getting into each of those because that would require a whole separate conversation. You write about Intelligence Bureau Director's reports containing adverse remarks about the judge and how that makes the collegium have to reconsider its view. What struck me as odd as an outsider, Justice Gogoi, was that if there is an IB director's unsigned report which contains adverse remarks about a judge who is currently in the High Court and the judges are convinced that there is some merit to what is being said, instead of taking action against that judge, in multiple places the judge gets transferred to another court. So if the judges currently serving in the Supreme Court know that a particular judge in a particular High Court has charges which you now believe are prima facie correct, why should that judge continue to serve and merely get transferred to another court, Justice Gogoi?
Yes, you have a very valid point there. But how do you get rid of a judge? The process is political. The judges have no say in matter of removal of judges. It's the Rajya Sabha, the Lok Sabha which decides it.
Towards the end of the book, you say that there are many secrets that you haven't spoken of yet, and you may think about them or you thought about them when you left them. And I kept wondering, what secrets have you left out of this book, Justice Gogoi? Can you give us some of those?
If I give out the secrets that I have left out, then where is the suspense?
So you have Justice for the Judge Part 2 lined up.
Maybe a Part 3. A justice for the Rajya Sabha member. Life is very uncertain. Life is very uncertain. Life is, you can't answer life.
Are you enjoying your time in the Rajya Sabha? Because unlike when you are presiding over a Supreme Court bench as Chief Justice, where you can order everyone to sit down and they better listen to you, here it's not quite like that. You feel helpless at times.
I don't know whether I'm enjoying the Rajya Sabha tenure, but I'm certainly enjoying the conversation today. It has been excellent. And I wish we could have more of this.
It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege. I can go on for the rest of the evening. There is so much in that book. But I don't want to give it all away, then everybody will say we've already heard the conversation, we know what the judge thinks of it, we don't need to read the book. So we'll leave it over here. You've been candid, you've been outright, spoken. You've got those who love you, you've got those who continue to criticize you, and you keep referring again and again to a cabal or a lobby. Who is this lobby? Who is in that lobby and that cabal that is the shadow that looms through your book?
Maybe that will come in Part 2.
He's also been learning some tricks of marketing books from Shah Rukh Khan and from some of the others. Justice Ranjan Gogoi, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.